in, Minnesota sports fans, to another edition of Vikings on SI here on the Bring Me the Sports YouTube channel. Jonathan Harrison here, joined by Will Raggets, Joe Nelson, Tony Liebert. Boys, we've got an interesting topic to discuss today. The weekly Ringer quarterback rankings just dropped today. Joe, you wrote the story on this, I believe, and it's interesting where Sam Darnold ranks, which is just about dead last among the starters in the NFL, 29th. Out of the 32 quarterbacks starting in the NFL so far this season. I'll let you take it from there, wherever you want to go with this. That seems exceptionally low considering the poor performances he's put on through 2 weeks this season, Joe.
Well, yeah, and you know what's really interesting about it is that I think the guy's name is Steven Ortiz, who conducts the rankings every single week. Darnell was 29 in week 1, 29 in week 2, and now 29 again entering week 3. And in the description about him, there's really not any recognition for what he's done this season. It seems to be all based on his past, which if that's the case, it makes plenty of sense. But you can't ignore what he's done through 2 weeks and still have him 29th. It's just it is ludicrous. It is lunacy. The only quarterbacks that are ranked behind him that have played this year are Andy Dalton's played 1 snap, Bo Nix, Malik Willis, Bryce Young, and Gardner Minshew. So it makes absolutely zero sense. And guys, I don't know. Let me throw some quarterback names at you and just jump in and tell me if you think they should be ranked above or below Sam Darnold. Jayden Daniels.
No.
Yeah, below.
Will Levis.
Below.
For sure below.
Well below.
Deshaun Watson.
Well below.
Well below again.
Daniel Jones.
Oh,
Below.
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 Russell Wilson.
Has he played?
He hasn't even played yet.
He
no.
hasn't played
So
yet.
below.
But based on his recent history, he should be below as well, right? I mean, I'm on that. I'm on that boat.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams.
Below.
Below.
Caleb, that's a tough one because, like,
You can
based
see the
on
potential.
based on performance so far, clearly below. But would the Vikings trade Sam Darnold for Caleb Williams right now? Yes. Although
Everybody would. Yeah, I mean,
the McCarthy thing, they do have their own rookie that they like, but
right.
I mean, I'd probably put Darnold ahead of Caleb Williams.
How about Jacoby Brissett?
Definitely below.
Yeah,
I think below. I that's you're getting closer to the veteran competency bar, but
Yeah, right. So that, boys, takes us into the top 20 where they have Baker Mayfield, which is probably a slap in his face as well. And you can't really say any of the top 20. Darnold, in my opinion, should be ahead of. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks in there. But that's remarkable because all those guys I just mentioned are ranked higher than Sam Darnold. It's like they're not watching the same football games that we've been watching, or maybe they're just not watching at all.
yeah, I get that maybe you're not going to rewrite the paragraph blurb every week, but if you're going into this, your exercise is to do updated weekly quarterback rankings. I know it's only been 2 weeks, but let's not just stick to our preconceived notions coming into the season. I mean, to have Darnold 29 and refuse to budge on that so far, what more do you need to see?
Yeah.
The guy has completed like 70% of his passes, thrown 4 touchdowns, only 1 pick that has been his fault. To have him still below Will Levis is like I don't possibly see the justification for that from Stephen Ruiz of the Ringer, who's doing these, and Deshaun Watson and even Daniel Jones at 25. Like,
Jones, we had a head-to-head.
did you watch
matchup
week 1? Yeah, there was. Granted, Darnold was not going against Brian Flores' defense, but come on, Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback unless he's facing Ed Donatell's defense. So
Yeah.
that to me is shocking. I understand, and I can try to be sympathetic to not overvaluing a small sample size, but if you're going to update the rankings weekly, let's put some worth into the actual football that has been played so far this season.
Let me throw this at you real quick, guys, too, and get your reaction, because in the Ringer's power rankings for teams, the Vikings are 12th, that's fine, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a quote that their little blurb starts like this, quote, "Make no mistake here, Darnold still isn't very good. Most of his best plays have come on third down, and he should come back to earth. End quote.
Isn't it harder to make plays on third down?
That's
would
what I was
think.
going to say. That should be a positive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
You
remarkable.
want your
that
quarterback to make plays on third down.
we just watched him light up the 49ers without his three best receiving options in the fourth quarter and stick the knife in and turn it. I mean, we really did. And if the criteria that Stephen Ortiz is using to rank these quarterbacks, check this out. It gets even juicier. Accuracy and decision making account for 25% of the grade. Well, Darnold's completing 72% of his passes, and like you said, Will, one interception is on him. The other one is on Ed Ingram because he got blown up, and Darnold had his arm hit, and the ball sailed into the air harmlessly, or not harmlessly, but floated up in the air, and it was a duck. Arm talent. This is my favorite one. Arm talent is worth 20%. And then you have creativity, decision-making, pocket presence, and timing worth 10% each. Arm talent alone, Sam Darnold's probably a top 10 guy in the NFL.
Yeah, I think the most interesting part of this, because obviously, like Will said, you don't want to overreact to 2 weeks, but the quarterback play in general in the NFL right now has just not been that great. And
Good point.
if you're going solely off what we've seen to start the year, you could make an argument Sam Darnold's been a top 15 to 10 guy.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously people like Joe Burrow and those quarterbacks that have started the year out slow, and anyone that watches football would rank them above Sam Darnold. But putting him at 29th is disrespectful. And it just makes no sense to me. And even other guys like Anthony Richardson, who he does make those creative plays and he has insane arm talent. So on this list, I guess that kind of makes sense. But I just cannot conceive why you would put Sam Darnold that low.
You guys want to know the quarterbacks who have a better passer rating than Sam Darnold so far?
If you include punters, I think Jack Fox has them.
It's Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, and Kyler Murray. That's it.
Right.
He's fifth in quarterback rating so far. He's tied for second in passing touchdowns. He's top 10 in yards.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like Tony just said, we're not going to – it would be foolish to do any sort of rankings that are just based on a small sample size of data. Like, power rankings should never just be regurgitating the standings. Quarterback rankings shouldn't be, through 2 weeks, who has the best passer rating. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, who's 15th in passer rating, is still clearly the best quarterback in the league. But let's give a little weight to it. Derek Carr, where does he rank on this list? He's up to,
I think it's 15th or so.
15th? Yeah, he's up to 15. He has moved up. And to refuse to move Darnold up just because you came into the season thinking he was cooked, it just feels like poor analysis to me. I mean, this guy, absolutely, could he have some adversity coming and could it end up being a bit of a roller coaster? It probably could. But I don't know. I just think what we've seen from Darnold looks pretty sustainable with Kevin O'Connell and Josh McCown and Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
And this offensive line, all the infrastructure around him. Like, I tend to think that he's not going to finish fifth in the league in passer rating, but I don't think he's going to finish outside of the top 20 either.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me how the narrative that Sam Darnold's only good because Kevin O'Connell's calling his plays exists when Brock Purdy gets all the credit for being a star in San Francisco, even though he has like the greatest offensive mastermind calling his plays in Kyle Shanahan. Andy Reid's calling the plays in Kansas City. I mean, does that help Patrick Mahomes? Is Patrick Mahomes who he is without Andy Reid? Really? I mean, maybe, but probably not, right?
Well,
the scheme matters, and that's why Darnold, to a degree, has sucked the first 5 years of his professional career because he was in terrible situations, right? This is the whole reason the Vikings were willing to pay him $10 million for 1 year to come in here and see what he can do with a competent system with competent talent around him. And we're seeing the results early on, and like we talked about last time we chatted here about the Vikings a couple of days ago, in my opinion anyway, you're looking at a guy who was probably playing tight in week 1 and week 2, and the confidence is going to start to snowball and come back. And all of a sudden, we might see the development of a really good quarterback living up to that third overall pick hype from 2018. That really could happen here. He's clearly in prove-it territory. He has more to do to convince a lot of people like Steven Ortiz that he's better than 29th in the NFL. But the table is set for him to really skyrocket among the NFL's best quarterbacks. He might not be top 10, but he very well could be by the time this thing's said and done. In fact, in a matter of weeks.
There's also a bit of an admittance here in the write-up on Darnold that being a system quarterback can help him rise. There's a section on his write-up that says how he can rise, and it says, just try not to do too much. Check, he's done that. He kind of just plays within the bounds that Kevin O'Connell tells him to play, and he's admitted, just play like a point guard. Just distribute. You don't have to do too much. Darnold still has a chance to make it as a system quarterback who can thrive in a talented offense. If he does everything Kevin O'Connell tells him to do, this won't be his last chance to start, and he might even sneak into the top 20 of these rankings by the end of the year. I would think through 2 weeks you've seen at least enough to bump him up from 29, where he sat for the first 3 versions of these rankings. And it's very questionable to me why he's still at 29, why he's below some of the guys he is below. My question off of this is, clearly Steven Ruiz of The Ringer doesn't believe in Sam Darnold. What we've seen through 2 weeks, what more do you need to see from Sam Darnold to believe in him as the starting quarterback for the season to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, just keep doing the same thing. That would do it for me. If he's able to continue to replicate these 2 performances and play with confidence and play poise and make good decisions and don't look jittery and rush throws and try to force balls into windows that aren't there. And I mean, I have confidence that he's going to do that. And like I said, I think it's not always going to be smooth sailing, but I think the infrastructure is there with the coaching staff and the receivers and all of that for him to bounce back and not totally fall apart when some adversity does hit. But that'll be the biggest test is, let's say he has a bad game against the Texans this weekend, throws a couple picks, Vikings lose. How does he then bounce back the next week and not let that snowball into a rough stretch of games that could kind of derail the season?
Yeah, I'll say there's one caveat that I will acknowledge exists here. He beat the Giants in week 1. We know the Giants aren't very good. And then the 49ers, even he admitted it, like on that third down play, the 26-yard hit in the fourth quarter to Jalen Naylor to kind of seal the deal for the Vikings. He admitted it in his press conference that, he's used to seeing the disguises that San Francisco's defense presents. They have a new coordinator there, but it's still largely the same system in San Francisco from when Darnold was there all of last season. So he did have the benefit of understanding what they were running, and he was able to diagnose and see things that he normally wouldn't have the opportunity to do if he hadn't played an entire season with a team. So again, that maybe mattered and helped him against San Francisco. So go out and prove it against the Texans on Sunday. And then a really big one, if you show up and you play good quarterback against the Packers at Lambeau Field, no more questions. No more questions. You've answered them all at that point for me.
Yeah, I guess doing it in a hostile environment would be something that fans and people analyzing his play could be something that they'd want to see, because playing on the road in New York against the Giants right now isn't the most intimidating of places to play. And he showed he could do it at home against the 49ers, and he'll get another opportunity in a big game against a talented Texans team this week. But I kind of agree with Joe. Maybe showing it on the road against a playoff caliber team could have his doubters buy in a little bit. But I mean, any doubts that you would have that he just is good because he has Justin Jefferson, I think were kind of answered on that game-winning drive when he was going to Brandon Powell and Jalen Naylor. So it doesn't make much sense. Maybe you can if we talk to Steven Ortiz, maybe he would disagree. I don't know, but
Ortiz or Steven Ruiz. I can't
Ruiz.
It's Ruiz.
One of them.
Put on the Gophers. But yeah, I don't know. The list makes no sense.
Yeah, I want to real quick just read this quote from Kevin O'Connell on Monday talking about Sam Darnold, which is that I don't really have a lot of interest in talking about the past with Sam Darnold. I think we all need to just start being totally present And when he plays like he has, I think we just talk about a guy playing the position at a high level and we move on. The consistency of it is what we're all going to be looking for. I think Sam's doing the right thing each and every week to prepare. Clearly, his teammates are confident in his physical ability and his preparation. Let's just keep seeing what it looks like, and I have a lot of confidence in what that will look like. So that's O'Connell just being tired of all the questions about, oh, Sam was really bad in the past. Like, how's he doing this now? He doesn't want to talk about that. He wants to focus on right now, the present, the 2024 version of 27-year-old Sam Darnold and what he's done for the Vikings and what he can continue to do. And O'Connell has a lot of confidence in what that's going to continue to look like. And if he has confidence, then I tend to just follow whatever O'Connell says and give him the benefit of the doubt.
Do you think they have an actual bulletin board with like newspaper clippings and internet headlines and rankings that they put up for these players to see? You know, if they're not seeing it on their own, somebody in that PR department should be sticking that up for Sam Darnold to see this week.
They might.
There's definitely some players that do that. I mean, every player gets motivated different, but I would imagine there's definitely some players that use that directly as motivation.
I think Darnold is feeling just totally different than he ever has in his life. You can take that post game celebration where the entire team is bouncing to 50 Cent's Many Men, and you can look at that and feel 14 wins. You can just feel a bunch of victories from this team. It's different, man. It really is.
There was a cool moment too in the mic'd up field access YouTube video that the team released, where after the touchdown, Josh McCown is talking to Darnold on the sideline about the way that he kind of stepped up and set his feet on the goal line and just said, like, I'm proud of you. And that's got to be pretty cool to have McCown, his former teammate with the Jets when he was a rookie, as his quarterback coach. And I think that matters. Like, people are going to talk about the Kevin O'Connell, but to have Josh McCown, to have two former quarterbacks really mentoring you constantly, to have Wes Phillips as the offensive coordinator, who I think has the potential to be a head coach in this league down the line. I mean, it's a great coaching staff. It's a great setup with obviously the best receiver in football. And like we've said before, this guy is going to get Jordan Addison and TJ Hockenson back at some point. And what's it going to look like then? Because Addison, I mean, he was hitting deep ball after deep ball to Jordan Addison in training camp, and we haven't seen a whole lot of the second year receiver so far. And then Hockenson is like a great safety blanket, seam guy for any quarterback. So I think this thing has the potential to just kind of keep rolling. But as we've mentioned, Texans this week are going to be a really tough test, arguably tougher even than the 49ers defense.
Let me bring this one up to you guys because I think this is going to happen. And within a month, it'll be kind of in the mainstream conversation. 2 months from now, it very well could be the primary talking point outside of like playoff positioning. What if Sam Darnold throws for 35 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, leads you to the playoffs, looks good, no matter what the result is? It's like, oh my God, we have a 26-year-old former third overall pick. And the dilemma is we have J.J. McCarthy, our first-round pick from 2024, sitting there waiting for the opportunity. The Vikings, I believe, will have a massive decision to make about what to do at the quarterback position by the time we're sitting in these rooms chatting in mid-March, ready for the 2025 NFL season to begin.
Yeah, I saw somebody tweet that basically last night. I think Brett Coleman kind of tweeted some thoughts on that very topic. And it's so early to get into that after 2 weeks, but you're right that it could become really fascinating because all teams are looking for are, franchise quarterbacks. What happens if Sam Darnold this year makes a strong case that he can be that guy? I don't know. I've thought all along that even if Darnold plays well this year, that would just set him up to get paid, maybe get a Baker Mayfield type 2 or 3 year deal from somebody else, and then you bring McCarthy in. But have you seen enough from McCarthy to feel comfortable moving on or letting a quarterback like Darnold walk after if he ends up having a really successful season? I think the Vikings love McCarthy. They've spoken so highly of him. They really like the development they saw this summer, and and obviously the one preseason game. But yeah, you're right that it would become just a fascinating kind of crossroads.
One of the biggest questions will be how much do the Vikings value constructing a roster with a rookie quarterback contract?
That's a real part of it.
That's what I was going to say. The fact that Darnold's a free agent, and if he does continue at this pace, he's going to probably get around $20 million a year at least. If he's getting $10 million this year, and I think there are teams, maybe even like the Panthers. Maybe he goes back to the Panthers, but there's plenty of teams that are going. No, he definitely wouldn't. But like teams like the Raiders, or there's plenty of teams that are going to look for a quarterback this offseason. And there are plenty of teams that'd be willing to pay that. So I think it really just comes down to what the Vikings would want to do. There's been a lot of interesting scenarios like this. I mean, you look back at the Eagles with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, they kind of mismanaged that whole thing. And then teams like the Chiefs did very well with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes kind of going into a new era. And then the Packers did very well going to Jordan Love. But that's a different situation with contracts. So it'll be definitely an interesting discussion if we get to that point at the end of the year.
What if you like Darnold, you can get him to a fair contract, and somebody in the top 10, probably not in the top 5, but somebody in the top 10, 5 to 10, 6 to 10, somewhere in there, even top 15, offers you a first-round pick next year for J.J. McCarthy. Then you'd have 2 first-round picks. Ooh, juicy.
Get Travis Hunter.
I don't know enough about next year's quarterback class, or if maybe they wouldn't even draft a quarterback. I guess if you're re-signing Darnold, I just think more likely than not, I think the heavy favorite in the outcome here is that regardless of what happens with Darnold this year, he doesn't play a snap for the Vikings beyond 2024. Yeah. That's how high I think they are on J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback, the person, the leader, the mental makeup, all of it, the rookie contract. I think Darnold would really, really have to light things up and play even much better than he has so far to make it a legitimate discussion. But hey, I'm not saying it's impossible. The way they talk about J.J. McCarthy, they really, really like that guy.
Yeah, but Kevin O'Connell basically cried in his post-game press conference talking about Sam Darnold and how proud he is of him. So, hey, I don't know.
I'm going to throw out a sneaky team name, the Dolphins. He's played in the Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan system before. They don't know what's going to go on with Tua Tagovailoa. They clearly don't want to reset at the quarterback position, completely reset with the rookie.
That's good.
I
can imagine Darnold throwing 60-yard bombs to Hill and Waddle. That's a good one.
Yeah,
actually.
that is a really good one.
That is a
very good
I was going to say like the Titans, maybe if Will Levis stinks, but
he does.
Darnold, you're not going to.
You're right. If he continues to stink,
if you're Darnold, you're not going to a project. You want to go to somewhere that's set up for you to succeed, not struggle with. Bring along new guys. You're going to go to a place
not go backwards from your Viking situation to another Jets or Panthers like situation.
Yeah, you're not going to pull a Kirk Cousins and go to a worse team. You're going to go to a better team.
Yeah. I think Kirk's move was reasonable, because the Falcons are solid. You just throwing a shot at Kirk. I like it.
Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't I?
29 career game-winning drives, man.
Shout out to Kirk Cousins, man. I found myself rooting for him on Monday night, and he was giving his post-game interview, and I was like, I almost miss him just a tiny little bit.
We were talking in the chat, one of our colleagues, and Adam Urine and I, and he's like, we should do a story on how Kirk Cousins did for Atlanta what he never did in Minnesota, win in primetime. And I was like, it's a great idea. I start writing, and I'm like, you know what? This isn't as true as the narrative suggests it is. He's been actually pretty damn good in primetime. Yeah. I can't write a story knocking a guy for winning in primetime when the last Monday night game he played, he beat the 49ers for the Vikings. And then,
without Justin Jefferson.
And then I'm looking up game-winning drives, and I'm like, oh, my God, he's got 29 of them in his career. That's a lot. And he had more and more every single year with the Vikings, including one at Lambeau Field, a bunch against the Bears, some really big games. And then, of course, a couple of years ago, 8 of them in that 13-win season, which was miraculous. So, Nothing but respect for Kirk after kind of a little revisionist history check.
I think they said that he's won 4 of his last 5 on Monday night after legitimately having a very 0-9 start or something on Monday night, which probably wasn't all his fault, but
it might have
he
something
just needed
to do
Joe
with,
Buck and Troy Aikman to take over the calling duties on Monday night.
there you go.
Be successful.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. That's been an interesting topic for sure because Darnell at 29 seems very wildly low, and it's been interesting talking about this with you guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Another Minnesota sports topic. I think Will and I will do our weekly 5 things preview of the game coming up this weekend against the Texans, as well as maybe a couple other topics we'll hit on throughout the day tomorrow, right back here on the Bring Me the Sports YouTube channel. Be sure to hit subscribe, get that notification every time a new video from us drops. It really does help us out. Minnesota Sports Fans, we'll talk to you tomorrow.